Hello and welcome to the Irish NFL Show. My name is Shane Brennan and we are really looking forward to all the action coming up against this wildcard weekend. It's weird that they dropped the Super from the Super wildcard weekend because out of all the matchups this weekend and all the wildcard weekends of years previous, this has the potential to be the most super week we've had in the first round of the playoffs in a long time. And one of the games that we'll be looking at that kicks off at 9:30 our time is going to be the matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and Philadelphia Eagles, two teams who, of course, played the NFC Championship game only a couple of years ago. So I'm delighted to have John Chapman from the 49ers Rush, friend of the program, joining us again, wearing, for all of our podcast listeners, his fantastic cap that he has made for his own thing. It's got a little, like, the Golden Gate Bridge on the side. John, how are things?
Man, things are great, Shane. Anytime I get, reached out from Brian and you guys, I'm elated just because there's nothing that I respect more than fans, and the faithful in particular, but all football fans from afar, because I understand how difficult it is to get your news, the time change, just the gap in distance, but nothing but respect, man. And so I love all that you guys do, love seeing your success, and just happy to be here, man.
It's funny because out of all the fan groups that are in Ireland, obviously the Steelers played here, and there's a lot of Steelers fans. The 49ers have a huge fan base here, which I always find slightly jarring because I'm a fan of an East Coast team. So the 5-hour time difference is like, okay, whatever, we can get over. But fans of West Coast teams, not only in NFL, but like the fans of the Warriors with the 8-hour time difference over here, that's some real hardcore stuff going there.
It's a big gap, man. And I mean, it just messes up your sleep schedule, everything else and all that. I lived in the East Coast growing up for a little bit, and I was like, dude, and then I moved to the West Coast, and I was like, what are they doing over there? Do they not know you can wake up to football in the morning and be asleep after Monday Night Football at 10 p.m.? Like, come on, man. Let's anyway, we're playing on rookie mode over here in the West Coast is what I'll say.
Very much. What time, let's say, hypothetically, if the Niners played in Dublin or London next year, and that's usually like a 2:30 afternoon kickoff for us, what time of the morning is that for you guys?
Usually 6 a.m. So whenever there's a London-Ireland game, you set the alarm early, you brew a little bit extra coffee, and you wake up, and you're just the happiest guy, and you get, 12 hours of football, and there are no complaints. Lose a little sleep, but you smiling all day long, unless your team loses the early game, in which case the whole day's ruined.
You set yourself in a bad mood for the whole afternoon then. It's like, I'm turning on Red Zone. I just don't want to watch anything anymore because, like the Jags, for example, putting up absolutely nothing against the Rams in Wembley. But listen, before we talk about the Niners, because the Niners have been a really interesting team in that there was a significant chunk of the year where they're on a heater, but nobody wanted to talk about them because all the focus was on the Seahawks and the Rams, certainly from a national point of view. And that's the kind of media that we get over here. And in the last couple of weeks, it was such a big burst. But from your point of view, A, how are things feeling in San Francisco right now? Obviously, there was a chance to get the 1 seed that didn't quite work out. But B, the fact that the Super Bowl is coming to your home city and your home stadium. And that obviously adds a different complexion, not only for hosts of the 49ers, but just a cool thing to have in your backyard. How are things feeling right now in San Fran?
This year's just been the definition of a roller coaster season, which I think most teams can kind of adhere to. But the 49ers lose in Nick Bosa early. Then you lose Fred Warner. You've lost several other pieces as well. Brandon Ayuk never showed up. And so it's just been like, man, there's no way this team can compete and be a serious contender with all these injuries, right? But then you go on a 6-game winning streak, and it's just like, man, yeah, you're beating quality teams. And it's just like, all right, play for the 1 seed. All right, who knows? Super Bowl's in our house. Yeah, let's just make this happen. And then you get a couple more serious injuries. You lose at home to a division rival. And, the vibes are not great for the San Francisco 49ers fan base, but they're in the dance. And so you have this back and forth of, man, we could have been the 1 seed, could have had the bye week, could have not traveled all the way through the Super Bowl to now we got to go all the way to the East Coast and the Eagles and kind of see what that is. And I think I had a conversation with a big-time supporter yesterday, and the quote was, I will be absolutely sick if the Seahawks or the Rams win a Super Bowl in our building. So there is a little bit of this mixed emotion. Yes, it's an advantage for the 49ers to host the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. But it happened in a year that the NFC West is one of the best divisions in NFL history, with not one, not two, but 3 12-win teams. It's just a little, so like, yeah, you're excited it's here, but then you're like, man, if one of those two teams win, that's going to cause issues for a long time.
I never even thought about that. The idea that the Rams or the Seahawks could win a Super Bowl in the home of the faithful. That's a that would be a
That
painful
doesn't
watch.
help, Shane. That didn't help when you said it like that.
I'm not saying I'm hoping for it to happen, but it's not even a possibility that crossed my mind. So that's a crazy thing. And what's interesting about the Niners is the fact that over the course of the season, yes, there was that roller coaster element. I mean, Mac Jones gets put in a quarterback. It does a relatively good job, I think, considering the challenge that he was faced with. There was a period in the middle of the season when the Niners alternate between winning a game and losing a game and winning a game. Then it went on a streak where it was 6 in a row by the time you beat the Bears. Did that ever feel unsustainable during that winning period? Because the reason I say that is we're sitting back here, we're having conversations whether Kyle Shanahan should be coach of the year. We're having a conversation whether Christian McCaffrey should be in the MVP running because there's too much of a weight on quarterback play that he should be giving his nod. But when you were watching that and you're having a much closer look at how the defense is coached, what they're missing on parts, did you think this is going to run out of steam at some point?
Well, like if you look at just the NFL in general and what it takes for sustained deep playoff runs, usually quality defensive play is really high on that list. You got to have a running game. That's usually, and that's kind of how Kyle Shanahan has done it. He's 8-4 in the playoffs, a lot of playoff success, been to a few Super Bowls, whatever else. You look at this 2025 49ers team, not running the ball well. In fact, second worst rushing per attempt in the NFL. Defense is abysmal. A lot of that has to do with the injuries. You've got rookies playing at all three levels. Major issues there as well. So it's not the conventional style of how you build a deep playoff run team. However, when Brock Purdy in this offense is on pace and doing what they did the past 2 months of the season, they can play with anybody. And you saw that in the Bears game. And probably the little secret ingredient this year that Kyle Shanahan has never experienced since 2017 joining the 49ers is amazing special teams play. You bring in Brant Boyer, the new special teams coordinator. I would argue the 49ers are top 2 in almost every single special teams metric. So a lot of those close games, which you have to do in the playoffs, they're getting a little bit of that edge in the special teams. So do you have an elite defense? No, not even close. Do you have a quality run game? No, not even close. That doesn't make sense with deep playoff runs. But if you're picking up the slack with special teams and Brock Purdy can play MVP caliber football, which I would argue for that 6-week stretch was the best quarterback in football. That ended pretty quickly when you played the Seattle Seahawks. But can you get back that Brock Purdy from that 6-game win streak? Or are you going to have Brock Purdy against the Seahawks, against this Philadelphia, Eagles defense? That's going to determine the game this Sunday.
I think it's worth talking about Purdy's performance against the Seahawks because we were talking about it in the show earlier in the week and saying that the challenge that the Niners offense faces in the Seahawks defense is similar enough to the challenge they face in the Philadelphia defense. They're a similar style. As how they're coached, they're particularly tough. It's not like they're really strong up front and weak in the secondary or vice versa. There's a nice spread of talent there. What exactly happened to the 49ers? Because we saw how great this Niners offense can be the previous week in that shootout with the Bears. Like, it was really, really impressive reading, really impressive, accurate passing, the use of players like Juszczyk and all and Kittle and all this kind of thing. What happened against the Seahawks that made them only be able to score 3 points?
Yeah, it's a myriad of issues. Number one, yes, the Eagles and the Seahawks are similar. I do agree with you there, Shane. I would argue the Seahawks are better at all three levels of the defense. The Seahawks defense is unbelievable. Yeah, I have no qualms saying they're the best defense in the NFL. The Texans might be a little upset about that, but they're in the mix. Now you look at the Eagles defense, and it's weird. Their defensive line is good, but they don't have the depth that they're accustomed to. That we're kind of expect. The Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls in recent memory, and both of those, the defensive line and offensive line, were all world. Both of them have taken some major hits. Still quality, still top 10 units. Not saying they're bad by any stretch of the imagination, but the idea of they're this dominating best defensive line or best offensive line in sports, that doesn't exist anymore. So you're kind of getting, and this would probably upset Eagles fans, it's not meant to be an insult, going from Seattle to the Eagles, it's a little bit watered down. So you're not playing this elite defensive unit. And there are some players that you can take advantage of. Kyle Shanahan is at his best when he can scheme pass plays against linebackers that are maybe not so great in coverage. And I love Jihad Campbell. He's one of my favorite players in this upcoming draft. He's not there yet, coming off an injury. He's a quality player and going to be one of the better linebackers in the NFL. He's not there yet. So look for Kyle Shanahan to kind of put him in that. He does this triangle kind of Phil Jackson type offense where you have George Kittle, you've got Christian McCaffrey, and you've got one of the wide receivers, and it's just pick your poison from a linebacker coverage standpoint, and Brock Purdy goes elsewhere. So that's going to be key. Quick passing against the Fangio defense. Niner fans know that better than anybody. You can take advantage and kind of getting some 2nd and 4s, some 3rd and shorts. If they could do that, it sustained the run game. The 49ers offense of Brock Purdy, this is not an insurmountable defense, even with the injuries of Trent Williams and, Ricky Pearsall on the offensive side. I'm looking for the 49ers to score in the 20s range, as opposed to only put up 3 points last week against Seattle.
Yeah, I think we can expect definitely a better offensive performance. Again, it's
can't be worse.
Yeah, well, they could score 0, but if technically speaking, but we're expecting certainly a lot better because of the consistency, like you say, from Brock Purdy, who has won, I think 7 of the 9 games that he's played this year, and early season was a different story anyway. But what's interesting about this is obviously the specter of home field advantage wasn't secure. It means the Niners have to go on the road. I don't know whether national media or us in Ireland put too much stock in the whole coast-to-coast thing. Like, I'm a Patriots fan. People are talking about that. The Chargers having to go up to New England. The Niners, similar, having to go all the way to Philadelphia. What I probably would put more stock in, though, is the fact that Sirianni, even though he's 0-2 on the road, he's 5-0 in the playoffs at home. So what's the feeling like in terms of San Francisco, in terms of the road team, the mentality of that? Because Kyle Shanahan, I think, ahead of the game against Seattle was like, look, winning this game is super important. It's almost more important than winning the next one. But the mindset's got to change here.
Yeah, the 49ers have been road warriors. We were able, we go to all the 49ers road games, not going to this one. I've been to Philly before, probably not going back to that stadium. It did not go well. But we won the game there. The 49ers did. I say we, I didn't play. But the 49ers are 7-2 this year on the road. Like, they have had a lot of road success. They've had a lot of road success in the playoffs under Kyle Shanahan. So it is kind of a strength versus the strength for the Eagles and 49ers, them playing at home and all this. And you also have to look at, of the quarterbacks that are in the playoffs this season, you have 2 of the highest playoff percentage winning quarterbacks and coaches in Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, and Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. They've had a lot of postseason success. I would argue these 2 quarterbacks have had the most postseason success outside of, Josh Allen. I know he's never won a Super Bowl, and Matt Stafford with all of his experience. I get that. But, there are 4 experienced quarterbacks in this playoff race, and 2 of them are playing each other from the jump. So I could tell you everybody in the NFL is excited to have either the Eagles or the 49ers out of the playoffs, because whoever wins this game, they will have a distinct advantage depending on where they play. Because you look at the 1 seed Seattle Seahawks, Sam Darnold, what has he done in the playoffs? Nothing. And even that 13-3 victory over the 49ers, what did Sam Darnold do to kind of, separate and kind of quiet the haters and the narratives or whatever else? Not really much. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But whoever wins this game, I would strongly expect them to have a chance to get on a little bit of a run. I expect them in the NFC Championship no matter who wins.
I think you make a great point there that whoever's in the NFC is looking to get rid of one of these guys, because to say that the Niners are the 6th seed is it's just an incredible misbalance towards the way they've actually played over the course of the season. Like you say, I mean, it's not as if they just topped an easy division. The NFC West has been one of the toughest divisions I can remember in football. So it's interesting you say that, though, in terms of the playoff experience. And obviously, the experience of the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago, that comeback against Detroit, the experience, these 2 teams, of course, played against each other a couple of years previously, but of course, injuries just sort of ruined the game that could have been, I think, because the Niners, I think, was very unfortunate in that regard. When you're talking to people, and obviously you've seen this team on the road, you're getting a sense of that playoff experience is something which they will lean on, because we always talk about the Chiefs as being a team who could turn it on at the right time. Not this year, obviously, but the Niners might be in that camp as well.
Yeah, I think that they are. Everybody thought like, oh, the right time was, man, that 6-game win streak. They're playing great football. You ride this straight into the playoffs, and then got a little bit of a car wreck, and last week was what it is. So can they rebound? Was last week's loss to Seattle a gut check on what you need to do better? Or was it this is the beginning of the end, and this major injury-riddled season just comes to a crashing halt in the first-round exit, which Kyle Shanahan has never done, by the way. Every single time Kyle Shanahan makes the playoffs under the 49ers, they make it at least to the NFC Championship. So, and you could go all the way back. It's 23 consecutive seasons that the 49ers, when they make the playoffs, they make it at least to the NFC Championship. So it's been like 12 seasons to the NFC Championship, most in the NFL, and 12 seasons where they don't make the playoffs.
They're like the anti-Cowboys.
Yeah, it's exactly. They're a success in the playoffs, and they're contenders when they are contenders, not pretenders, because they're built to win in the playoffs, like we talked about, even though they are built a little bit differently this year.
That's a great stat. 23 seasons where they made at least the NFC Championship game. I don't know how are people not screaming that from the rooftops in the national media when they're previewing this game. There's so much running back talk.
I don't think people understand. Like, if the Niners make the playoffs, they go to the NFC, championship. If that will continue, I don't know how much past success is on now, but yeah, come on, man, let's get back there, Niners. Let's go.
Be a great rematch in Seattle if that was the case. When the prospect of that happening is quite juicy, even if that happened in the following in the divisional round, which is also important. So yeah,
Purdy's never lost in Seattle. I will say that.
That's good to put that one up early. I mean, those divisional rivalries in the West are really strong. Talk to me about the defense, because Robert, people have sat back and said, what's been the greatest offseason acquisition? And say it's not actually a player; it's bringing Robert Salah back into the building. In terms of what the defense had to do. Am I right in saying that none of the starting linebackers from September's roster are fit? So that's just what the Niners have been dealing with on defense. I mean, talk about coaching your team to be as strong as they possibly can be, but that doesn't mean they're not without weakness. And I think that a team like the Eagles, if we're trying to be ruthless, if we're trying to find a way to get at that, even if Kevin Patullo's offense has been so bad that his house has been egged for a couple of times this year.
Philly gonna Philly, right? I mean, you talk about the starting linebackers being out. All 5 of the original linebackers on the 49ers 53 initial roster are gone. They're out. All 5 of them.
That's incredible.
Like, every single one. And so you're starting Eric Kendricks, Garrett Wallow, and Kaiser White, and a couple practice squad guys, like literally not on teams a few weeks ago. You are literally getting players off of the street. Now, the crazy thing is, and you go through the, coaching all 22 and all that stuff, they were surprisingly more consistent than the linebackers the 49ers have been fielding for the past week. Not to say that they, Eric Kendricks and Garrett Wallow have played well. And again, we're talking 2.5 quarters of football here against Seattle, but they played better. Quicker reads, better coverage drops, and way better effort and better tackling. So can you just get decent? Now, the one caveat is this. Eric Kendricks was the defensive captain and play caller for the Cowboys last season, and his two best games last year were against this Eagles offense. So does he have the experience? Obviously, he's played 10 plus years in the NFL. Can that carry over? He was on the couch just 2.5 weeks ago. So now he's calling Robert Saleh's defense. And you brought up Robert Saleh. He has done everything. And the 49ers fans are praying he doesn't leave, for one of these head coaching vacancies. And I was almost 100% convinced he was returning next year until the Ravens fired Harbaugh. Now he's on the list of candidates. If you get to go be the head coach and Lamar Jackson's your quarterback, I think you take that one. So for the first time, I'm just like, man, might be a one and done for Robert Saleh. I'm hoping they go with an offensive-minded head coach, but he has been number one on the acquisition list, and he even brought Brant Boyer, so he even helped the special teams. Robert Saleh, Niner fans are so endeared to him and so thankful for what he has done. You go back 2017 to 2019, and now you're talking about this year and the rebound from last year's horrible defense. Got to find a way to keep him. I really want Robert Saleh to return next year so we can see what it's like with Fred Warner, with Nick Bosa, with the experience of Saleh. But, he's been huge.
Yeah, especially in that division, having that experience with that talent is a great combination. Just remind me very quickly, just in terms of the injury situation, is there a potential that Fred Warner may return if the Niners play further in the playoffs?
He worked out yesterday for the first time on the side field, not technically practicing, but this dude just had a baby 2 days ago, and his foot was I was right there at the Tampa Bay game where his foot's facing the wrong direction. Dude's sleeping in a hyperbolic chamber every single day. I mean, you can't put anything past him. I think the divisional round is too early. I think the NFC Championship I would put at maybe like a 30% chance. If the 49ers make it to the Super Bowl, that he's running out of he's leading the team out of the tunnel. And it's just going to be one of the all-time sports moments in the Bay Area, maybe even further than that. Like, that will be an iconic Super Bowl memory for everybody to remember. And if 5-4 is suited up, in the red and gold, the amount of just energy that dude will bring. Oh, man, I hope we get that opportunity.
Well, think about the last time the NBC were in that stadium. Fred Warner was on the side and he was hitting he blew the foghorn. And then the next time NBC are in the stadium, it's a Super Bowl. Mike Tirico's on the call and Fred Warner leads the team out. That would be almost too cinematic. You've actually, not that I'm rooting for it, but you've actually got me excited for that potential. I think that would be an amazing like NFL films moment.
Oh, yeah, I think we almost got Shane on our side as long as Drake May's not playing, the opposite side of him. We're going to keep working on that, Shane.
I have a funny feeling somebody knocked the Patriots out before then, but that's a conversation for a different day. So look, let's. I guess the final thing to say is just what are your expectations for this weekend? I mean, the Niners are coming into this on the road on the back of a defeat. I don't know how many people are looking at this and sort of reacting too much to that Seattle loss and saying, well, they've run out of steam now. Here comes the defeat that we all expected them we're all expecting them to have. Some people are looking at that and saying, oh, the Eagles are the reigning champions. They're going to find something in there. What's your feelings going into this? Do you think that there is a potential for the Niners to really take the bull by the horns and surprise some people?
There's no doubt that they can win this game. I think the spread's at 4 points right now on most of the betting sites and whatever. Take that for what you will. But before I give kind of my prediction of the game, I think a lot of it matters with Ricky Pearsall and Trent Williams. Ricky Pearsall is still not practicing. Trent Williams had a limited practice yesterday. You have to have one of those two guys suit up and play for the 49ers offense to have a chance to be what it is. If you get both of them, the 49ers, I think, win this game. And I hate, channeling down and saying, well, if they're healthy, then cool. And if not, then whatever. But the 49ers have seen this offense without Ricky Pearsall. It doesn't work. The 49ers have seen this offense without Trent Williams. It doesn't work. And so I think that is a big deal. You can overcome the defensive injuries because the Philadelphia Eagles offense has been so inept, has been so discombobulated, can't get rhythm, one of the worst third down teams in the NFL. I think that will continue. Make Jalen Hurts beat you with his arm from inside the pocket over the middle. He can throw those deep fade routes, and they can run the ball. But if the 49ers can commit to stopping the run, or at least just keeping it somewhat average, I think that they can walk away with this win. Is it going to be an uphill battle? For sure. And when these two teams play, you have to add in that added element of hate and anger and Big Dom on the sidelines causing problems. And, it's going to be a circus. And I'm excited for all the fans that get to watch because it's going to be a crazy game.
That Philadelphia this arena is just an unbelievable, place of football. So listen, John, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. I mean, your energy, enthusiasm, and knowledge always comes through, and so I would like having you on. For anybody who wants to follow your work, Niners fans or otherwise, where can they find you?
Yeah, 49ers Rush Podcast. We are everywhere you watch and or listen. And if you're obviously not a Niners fan, you're not going to listen to a 49ers podcast more than likely. Check us out on Twitter or Instagram. At Twitter, we are at JL_Chapman. We do a lot of draft content. I remember talking to you about Drake May and how much I love Drake May and how happy you were going to be. And here we are. I was a big Drake May guy coming out of that draft. But JL_Chapman on Twitter and 49ers Rush Podcast on Instagram.
Well, if you're the sort of draft savant, we'll have to get you back on again. Who's the next Drake May? Who's the next big guy that we're going to get coming out of here? So
this year is kind of rough, but we'll see what that is here in a couple months.
Very much so. And listen, Well, obviously, we're going to be in San Francisco in a couple of weeks. Any recommendations? Maybe we can meet up. You can come with me to Alcatraz on the Sunday beforehand. If that's a
tempt me with a good time. I'm totally down. Hey, I'm a big North Beach area fan. The original Joe's, you got to go there. Just such a great city to walk around. North Beach area. That's where the live music, a lot of fun. You're going to have a good time. But yeah, you come out, man. We'll talk and we'll make something work out, man.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you very much, and I really hope you enjoy the game on Sunday.
You as well, man. Thank you, Shane.